Video games are a very unique medium of art simply by the virtue of the way the experiencer interacts with them. They are almost the only way of telling a story by putting a person in a virtual situation or place and letting them be. This unique way of interaction can also create a very special bond between the places that are depicted and the player that inhabits them. For me, the most memorable games since the inception of these virtual worlds are those that incentivize and strengthen this bond between the player and the place. Where atmosphere plays a huge role, where the world is not revolving around you but you inhabit it. Where instead of you being the protagonist, the world surrounding you is the real protagonist of the story and you are just a character. Though it's a beautiful concept, there isn't a one-size-fits-all method of achieving this unique quality. Many developers create a vast number of different experiences that fit into numerous genres, yet this certain bond between the player and space is not bound to a single genre of game. Though many of the first names that come to mind when you think about letting the player create their own narrative fall into the same genre, Immersive Sims, like Deus Ex, Prey 2016 or System Shock. These titles put the player in a world where they are required to provide a solution to any number of problems. The player has almost an infinite number of solutions thanks to many systems that can be combined together, like the ability to manipulate the physical space, every item in the game world having certain properties that can be combined together in creative ways, more traditional gaming solutions, talking to people to get information, persuading them, intimidating them, and many other possibilities. In Immersive Sims, the problem isn't usually solved with the only two answers of going in guns blazing or going stealthy, but is solved by this ability to manipulate any number of these systems that play together. The beauty comes from how intricate the level design is that it lets the player combine, mix, and match any number of systems that they see fit, creating unique playthroughs every time they go through the game. This remarkably strengthens the feeling of existing in a place and doing things your way, which is also a common quality of role-playing genre.
It's not quite the same as making you lucky.
Role-playing games usually put the player through a story where they can act however they please, as much as the writing team lets them be. The best ones even ask philosophical or political questions where one is forced to answer according to their own personal values and ideals regarding these issues. Even when there isn't a 3D world to inhabit, where there aren't boxes you can stack to get the upper hand on the enemy, this feeling of existence can simply be created through good writing, where the player is given this freedom through how they react to in-world situations, dilemmas and characters. The world does not revolve around them, but they are simply an important agent in the current time. And the world reacts to their decisions and has a believable basis to why it is the way it is and why it reacts the way it does. Putting the player in a situation like this and giving them agency over their actions that may lead to greater changes in the world allows the story that is being presented to become more than simply just a set story, but the story of the player themselves. However, making the real protagonist of the game the world you inhabit does not require intricately put together systems, complete agency of the player, or a well-written and lore-wise deep world. These styles and philosophies of game design obviously help create the connection that I'm describing, where the player feels an emotional bond with the world that is being depicted. But simply creating an interesting world that is intriguing enough that the player explores and finds small cool things scattered around is another way of making the player feel this bond. These things could be NPCs that simply feel like unique people, or it could be art design that is stylistically so unique and beautiful it mesmerizes you and you forget you are simply playing a video game. Or it could be corridors and ventilation systems that feel like that were previously been walked and crawled through. A game world that feels like it existed before you and after you will keep existing and you are just a piece of the whole puzzle. Or at least it feels like so. This category is not like Immersive Sims or RPGs where there are general factors to why they feel the way they do. These are just games that have beautiful world building. This can be achieved through a huge number of approaches, but the end result ties Mirror's Edge to Stalker and Stalker to Journey. These are all games that make the player feel the world surrounding them through meticulous world design instead of simply putting them in simple video game levels. Some make their AI feel like unique people, some pay attention to making the boxes you are put in to feel like they are not simply made for you, and some take advantage of being virtual and are simply so beautiful and otherworldly that it lights that fire of curiosity in you. And this idea of feeling the world around you is the main aspect of any number of games that become special through simply the world they create. The feeling of inhabiting this place where it doesn't revolve around you yet existed and will exist without you. GTA titles, Journey, Abzu, Stalker, Deus Ex, Mirror's Edge, Disco Elysium, New Vegas and many others took very different roads to reach this similar destination where their worlds are larger than the digital boundaries let them be.